So before I start this video, this is completely unrelated to what you're about to watch, but for anyone interested, I just uploaded a video on my 256 Pi Music channel where I basically explain what my own first album, Bubble Machine, means to me in wonky angle format. Basically rambling on about what I like and don't like about it in the wake of its 10th anniversary a couple of days ago. If that sounds like the kind of thing you'd like to see, you can click the link in the description and check it out. If not, well, whatever. CD collection begins now. Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And, it's time for the annual CD collection video. Yeah, so I believe it was yesterday that I had my third anniversary of this channel, and I decided, since, well, I did this exact same video for my first and second anniversaries, I'm gonna be doing it again this year. I will admit, for a big chunk of this year, I hadn't bought very much CDs. This might be a little shorter than the other ones, or it might not. I expected last year's to be shorter than the first one, and that turned out not to be the case. But I will say I probably have not bought as many CDs this year because, you know, I've been in a little bit more of a financial pinch for most of this year. But I did also do quite a bit of catching up in the past couple of months. So, because I knew I was going to be doing this video, so I wanted to be able to catch up on, you know, getting CDs and stuff. So, how about we just get into, the stuff that is behind me. Specifically, the stuff that you haven't already seen before in the previous two, CD collection videos. So let's get into this, and I'm doing the same transition as last time. Alright, so here we have a couple of releases that came out this year. We have Nightmares on Wax, Shape the Future. I think I showed off all the Nightmares on Wax CDs that I have in the previous video. And the Orb here with their latest No Sounds Are Out of Bounds album, and the CD of instrumentals that, yeah. Obviously covered both of these. Orb very recently. Still really enjoying that album, but we'll see how well it fares with repeat listens. And Nightmares on Wax, I've had a much better time of, you know, solidifying my opinion over the past couple of months. And I don't think it's gonna make the main year-end list, because I feel like it's kind of like his In a Space Out of Sound album. That would be this one. Alright, I'll just put that down there. And the reason I feel like that is because I tend not to listen to this one all the way through very much. Like, there aren't any outright bad songs on either of these, but there are definitely some that are just way better than others, so I am much more likely to gravitate towards those. So, yeah. That is probably going to get an honorable mention, though, at the very least, because I have been listening to those good songs from that album a lot. So, yeah. And over here, we have this CD of Speedy J's Ginger. One of the... I believe this is probably my favorite from the Warp Records Artificial Intelligence series. It's either that or Outakers Incunabula. Both great albums, but this one I think gets overlooked more frequently, and some people say that this one gets... that Speedy J's other stuff gets overlooked too often. And while I will admit that I don't enjoy Speedy J's other albums as much as this particular one, they are all good ones. I really liked, what were they? G-Spot, Public Energy #1, and The Shocking Hobby. They all had plenty of good stuff on them. Loudboxer wasn't my thing as much. It's just a very straightforward techno thing, though it was alright. But, yeah, Speedy J is definitely a very underrated artist, and you should go check this album out. It's very good. And over here, we have the infamous Goldie. Yeah, I now have all 3 of these. I've showed them off in videos previously. I already had the Journeyman, obviously, showed that off in the last CD collection video, but now there's also Timeless and Saturn's Return. And yeah, I already did the 3 videos on those 3 albums. If you want to go check them out, they're all on my channel. You can go look for them. But yeah, well, moving on from there. Now over here, as you can see, I now have the full 808 State collection with... I already had XL, Gorgeous, and Don Solaris before, showed that off in the last CD collection video, but now I also have New Build, 90, and Outpost Transmission, which is great. I mentioned that I wanted to get Quadrastate at some point. I don't know if I want it all that much right now, because, I mean, you may remember that I didn't end up making a video on Quadrastate because I listened to it a couple of times and realized I really didn't have much of anything to say about it. I mean, it's good, but it's more stuff like in between New Build and 90, and not as good as either of the material on those 2. It is a good EP, though. It's worth checking out. I don't think I'm going to be getting a CD of it, though. But I am very glad I got to New Build. This was not easy to find, and it came... another one that came without a jewel case initially. And this Outpost Transmission does, in fact, have the same track listing that I'm used to on, like, the US version, with the Cunices Lunch. Nice typo there. So yeah, moving on from there. Okay, so here's a bit more interesting collection. So this is my collection of Lee Norris releases right now. That is Metamatics, Norkin, and Nachtplank. This dude is incredibly underrated. And I have this Dope for the Robot, Neo Ouija. Why is it pronounced Ouija? I've never understood that. That's Mind Mushing Git, From Death to Passwords Warrior, Paper Aeroplane. Those are all the Metamatics ones. And over here we have Norkin with Soul Static Bureau. See if you can see the label on that. And over here we have Nachtplank with Broad Tape Band. So yeah, these are all very good albums. Soul Static Bureau does have a fair bit in common with some material on the main Metamatic stuff, but there is so much amazing stuff on that album that, like, you need to check out. And, oh, well, though of these 6, Mind Mushing Git is definitely my favorite. And, Neo Ouija here. I'm a little bit frustrated by this one because it is just this card stock thing. And I'm used to this album cover looking like that with this sticker on top, because that's how it looks like on iTunes and stuff. But then you open it from the top, and then I put the CD inside the little booklet here, so that it is less likely to get damaged by something. So yeah, the packaging on this is a little frustrating, but is what it is. I just wanted to make sure that it looked like the album cover I'm used to. And there were other album covers of that particular one, but they were actually a lot more expensive. Yeah. And over here next to my leg, I also have this CD of Jaywalk's A Night on the Rocks. I don't remember if I showed this off in an earlier video, but this is another super underrated album that I'm not going to get any more chance after this to talk about. Basically, I reviewed I reviewed this one when I was covering the Chainsmokers, because the Chainsmokers don't really deserve the attention, and this does. I believe it's a very nice down-tempo release, maybe a bit inconsistent, but the best stuff on here, like Tearaway, Soul Vibration, Heavens Above, and French Letter. Those are all amazing tracks, and definitely check out Jaywalk, they deserve better. So yeah, moving on from there. Now here we have a collection of Squarepusher CDs, which is nice, because I just finished a series on this dude fairly recently. So yeah, we have Feed Me Weird Things, Hard Normal Daddy, Music is Routed One Notes, Ultra Visitor, Hello Everything, and Deluxe Eufabulum, which is actually 2 different CDs in one, which also includes the Instrobia EP as well as Eufabulum here, which is very cool. Yeah, so not much else to add there. Obviously, you can check out my series on that dude if you want my full thoughts. But those are the albums of his that I consider to be Tom Jenkinson's best work. So yeah, good stuff. And moving on from there. Alright, so now we have a bunch of... We're going to go through quite a bit of non-electronic stuff that I have gotten. Because I obviously showed the top 2 there, but these 2 are new. These are the newest entrants into my collection. I literally just got Grace for Drowning today, and Hand Cannot Erase, like, just a couple of days ago. These are obviously Steven Wilson, and that's Porcupine Tree and Storm Corrosion. And, yeah, but these are all really great albums that I felt like I wanted to support by getting a CD, and this is all very nice stuff here, though I don't really like the jewel case on this one. Felt like there's some pieces missing. Yeah. So yeah, moving on from there. Now, how about this? Here's a name that I don't get a chance to talk about ever. This is a collection of CDs by the one and only Andreas Vollenweider. He is a new age artist, and he is like the one new age artist that you can fairly easily make the argument is not actually boring like most of his contemporaries in this genre. This dude is seriously awesome, and you need to just check out his stuff. Like, it is... I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so incredible, all of it. So yeah, we have there Behind the Gardens, Behind the Wall, Under the Tree, which is a very unwieldy name, and why this particular casing shortens it to Behind the Gardens. And we have Caverna Magica, White Winds, my personal favorite, Down to the Moon, and also the most popular one, I believe. Dancing with the Lion, Book of Roses, and Kryptos. 7 albums of his that are all like 9 out of 10 for me, basically. They are just so great. Yeah, this dude is seriously worth your time. Go check him out. Moving on from there. And now here we have a couple of CDs from from 2 artists who do not have very much in common with each other, but feel are both worth highlighting. Down here we have 2 CDs from Spunkshine, very obscure artist that I've done 2 reviews on that guy. One of his Way to the Ship albums and Most Distant Machine album, though those don't have CDs, because I presume he just didn't really have the funds to pull it off. Because, as I think I've mentioned before, manufacturing CDs is hella expensive. Though, I don't know, maybe there is a Most Distant Machine CD around that I don't know about. If there is, I will have to pick that up at some point, because that, I think, is his best album. And these 2 are 2 of his best as well. That one's And Yet It Moves, and that one is obviously Huge Humans. Huge Humans. So, yeah, those are cool. And obviously you may have eyed the Fortet over here. I think I already showed off Rounds before, but There Is Lovin' You came as well, because this is my other big favorite Fortet album. And the case on this is so thin. It's like that thin. How do you get like that? It is a very cool CD though. Like, what's that? This is where the CD is. And that's just not anything. I don't even know. These are both great albums though. All of these are very nice stuff that are worth checking out, obviously. So moving on from there. Alright, so here we have the one and only Mike Paradinas, aka Music, with his albums Tango Invective, Bluff Limbo, and Royal Astronomy. I don't remember if I already had Tango Invective in one of the earlier videos. Oh boy, that opened really easily. Slightly worrying, but cool. Yeah, and this, I also do not like the nice big hole at the top of the jewel case. And I can't really replace it because this is obviously a double album, so it has the swing thing in it, whatever you call this. Yeah, I would love to get a new jewel case for that. What I instead did was just stack up all these empty jewel cases on top of it. That's so that, I guess, dust doesn't get into it and cause problems, possibly. That might not be the best of ideas, I don't know. I'm running out of room to cover it up, but yeah, that's... I've obviously talked about Mike Paradinas before, and he is awesome. So, and over here, there's a whole bunch of random CDs from different artists than I felt I wanted to add to my collection. So, obviously up there we have DJ Shadows introducing the one and only classic. And anyways, down here we have two CDs from Underworld, Second Toughest in the Infants, and Bocoup Fish. Now, I obviously covered Underworld a really long time ago with their last album, Barbara, We Face a Shining Future, I believe it was called. And these two were definitely came out at the time as my two favorites. Around that time, I definitely picked Second Toughest as my favorite, mainly because of the first track, Juanita Kiteless to Dream of Love, which is probably my favorite Underworld track overall. But I think as an album, I think I might have switched over to Bocoup Fish as being the slightly better album as a whole. Just, Second Toughest gets a little weaker near the end. It just has a couple of tracks that aren't quite as good. Like, what's down there, like Blue Ski, and I haven't listened to that one in quite a while. I just know I go to that one more for specific tracks than I do for the whole thing. Bocoup Fish, I'm more likely to just listen through the entire thing, because there really aren't any bad ones on there. So yeah, anyway, we have Magic Sound Fabric, Freedom Star. That's another really obscure name that a couple of people may probably recognize. I think the last time I talked about Magic Sound Fabric was when I included his Lucid album in my 2015 list, best albums. But yeah, Magic Sound Fabric, Freedom Star is a great album that I especially love the track Risen City of Electro and Cosmic Consciousness. These are all really pretentious sounding titles, I know, but the dude has the music to back it up. It's very, very nice stuff. And obviously some people may have spotted the KLF's Chill Out. Yes, I managed to find a CD copy of that. Wasn't cheap. I mean, I believe it was like $30 or something. Can typically get most of these for like $10 each. That one was, since it's a harder to find one, was a little more on the expensive side. The packaging is not as interesting as I would have hoped, but it is obviously a freaking great album that you need to check out if you haven't already. So moving on from there, so now we have a couple of other CDs here, just random selections. So here we have Cabaret Voltaire, The Conversation. Cabaret Voltaire, there is a name that I don't often get the chance to bring up, but I really do enjoy those guys. They're like one of the... They're like a early industrial thing that they like started out super experimental, like Dadaist kind of stuff. Then they went on to like make really dark synth pop kind of stuff, a little bit like Depeche Mode, and I bet Depeche Mode was probably inspired by them. And then later they went into this later period where they have stuff like this, which this was their last album ever, I believe, and it was basically just like ambient techno rave kind of stuff. This particular album, it's long, it's a double album, but it is a very good album. So moving on from there, here's some Amon Tobin CDs. So I got Permutation here. These are all very... Why do all these jewel cases feel weird? And this is Out From Out Where, which comes out like that. And I'm used to the album cover looking like that when it's sideways, because I think that's how it shows up in iTunes and stuff like that. But the CD looks like that, or... crap, now how did I put that in? Amon Tobin is a very creative artist, and he's had a very interesting career. I will definitely have to cover him in a series at some point, and those are my two favorite albums from the guy. So over here, obviously, we have One Tricks Point Never's R+7. Yeah, I've talked about One Tricks Point Never a couple of times already. And this other one that I reviewed, it came out this year, Mr. Finger's Cerebral Hemispheres. 2 discs, and both of them are really solid all the way through. I would definitely recommend checking that one out. It's, yeah, definitely one of my favorites. And yeah, you can check out my video for more details. Yeah, moving on from there. Okay, so over here, couple of non-electronic CDs, and one that actually is electronic. I don't know why I have these grouped together. This is obviously Flying Lotus's Cosmogramma. A lot of people have asked me about Flying Lotus over the years. I will have to do a series on that guy at some point too, because I also really think that guy is amazing. Over here we have Kamasi Washington's The Epic, the giant thing that's a very big packaging for a very big album. I don't think I'm gonna get a CD of his latest album, Heaven and Earth, because I listened to that album a couple of times, and I feel like I really only love about half of it. The other half I like, but I feel like too much of it is similar sounding to the stuff that's on here already, and doesn't stick out enough, and it leads to a listening experience that is way too bloated for its own good. I don't feel like this album is bloated. Like, maybe there's a little bit that you could have cut. I don't know if it really needed to be a triple album. It's certainly not the kind of thing everyone's gonna have time for, but I still listen to this one all the time. Maybe not all in one go, but every track at least gets a couple listens every now and then. Some more than others, like Magnificent 7 is probably my favorite overall on here, but also like Change of the Guard, and The Rhythm Changes, and Misunderstanding, Rerun Home, and you get the idea. The freaking great album. So yeah, over here, the one and only To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. Figured I should get a little bit of hip-hop in my collection. and picked the single most obvious I could think of. Well, I didn't pick it just because it was obvious. I obviously think this album is great, as everyone else does, but, yeah. But maybe the more controversial one over here is gonna be the fact that I thought this was good enough to buy a CD of. That is J. Cole's 2014 Forest Hills Drive, and yes, I actually do really like that album all the way through. Now, I don't really like anything else I've heard of J. Cole. I think I've heard like, I listened to KOD once, and that was not that good. And For Your Eyes Only. I mean, I just kind of iTunes previewed a bunch of this, like Born Sinner 2. I don't think I'm ever gonna listen to anything else from J. Cole. I'm sure some people will yell at me about that one, but I do really enjoy this one thing from him. But yeah, I do very much like that album. I'm gonna stand by that. I understand if people don't like that one, though. Believe me. Over here, though, we have the single most lame collection of CDs I have. These are the Tilex CDs that come with the shower cleaner, like Clorox kind of stuff. It's just like MIDI new age stuff, and I got the Energizing from my aunt a really long time ago, and I love the crap out of it. Like, this was, I think I mentioned this in my Solar Fields review, but like this was pre even Orbital or Air, and helped kind of shape my music tastes. And since this advertised it was part of a 3-part series, I wanted to check out these other two, Awakening and Dreaming, and they're not as good. But yeah, Energizing is amazing. These two are good. Yeah. So, moving on from there. And we are finally finishing off this video with the guy I am currently doing a series on. Yeah, so spoilers. These are probably my favorite albums by Jean-Michel Jarre. We got Oxygen and Equinox, which I already covered. Zuluk, Oxygen 713, Metamorphoses, and Sessions 2000. Those are my 6 favorites from Jarre. And obviously, I don't think there's any Jarre albums I outright dislike. Maybe Interior Music, because I think that one is just... I haven't listened to that one in a while, so maybe my opinion will change when I actually check it out. But, yeah, so the Metamorphoses one here has a particularly big package, with, it's like it has this fold-out thing inside, and this obviously has the jewel case in here, and it just... I think it might be a bit much for this album to have overdone it so much with the packaging, but, I mean, it is a great album, but I don't know about that monumental. Whatever is what it is. Anyways, so I'll be covering all of these in the very near future. So yeah, well, I'm gonna put these away, or attempt to, because there's only so much I can do with one hand. Alright, so that concludes my annual CD collection video. So yeah, that was fun. We'll see how my CD collection expands next year. That was a fair bit of CDs, most of them acquired in the last couple of months. I don't know how much I'm gonna be getting this next year, but you will hear about that next year. Gonna just keep doing this every year, probably. So yeah, that was fun. Here's to another good year of reviews. That's all for today. See you next time.